Hello Nordango students, welcome to episode 2 of programming using Python Turtle. In this episode we're going to look at repetition and we're going to identify what repetition is and apply this to your program to improve your program's efficiency. So efficiency is all about using less lines of code for your result, for your finished article. There are lots and lots of ways to solve a problem, but the less lines of code you use, then the more efficient it is. And that is what we want to try and do. And that's how we can do it using repetition, or what's otherwise known as iteration. So let's have a look at this in practice. So here is my code from the previous episode. I'm going to file and save as, and let's call this repetition. And at the moment, this draws a square with a red line and a yellow fill. And so we've got the pen color red, fill color yellow, speed is 10. If I change that to 100, you can see the difference here. It draws it much faster. And we have, it starts with the begin fill, and then it works line by line going through, creating this square in a sequence. And then it ends with the end fill where it fills that shape. So effectively, we have used 8 lines of code. But this is not the best way. We are repeating this 4 times. Surely there's a way of using some sort of repeat loop code, and there is. So there's something called for I in range. Let me explain this. Range is looking at how many times you want this to loop. So in this case, we're going 4 times. And in computers, it does 0, 1, 2, 3. So it starts off at 0, then goes to 1, then 2, then 3. It doesn't go to number 4, but it has looped 4 times because it's doing it start at 0. So in range 4 means how many times I want that to loop. The I is index, and that's for each time in this loop. So the first one will be 0, the second will be 1, the third will be 2, the fourth will be 3. Let's just show this in practice. If I just use the print function, which is displaying, I can just say print I. And let me just put this up here so we don't have a problem. So if I press F5 now, what will happen is on here, it shows every time it goes through a loop, it displays the value of that loop. So print, the first one is first iteration of that loop. The first cycle is 0. The second one is 1. Third one is 2. The fourth one is 3. And of course, it's just cycling through. Coming back, we don't want to just have display. We want to have it doing each shape. And in here, I can see there are which ones are similar. We've got forward and right, forward and right, forward and right, forward and right. All I need to do is just take this forward and right and then put it in my loop. And as you can see, anything that's being looped needs to be indented, needs to have white space in front of it. So the program, so Python, knows that this is going to be looped. Before the shape is drawn, I need to have my fill color, and that needs to be before my loop. And then when it's finished the loop of drawing the actual shape, I then need to have my end loop. And I don't put it in the loop here because it will then keep running this each time. I need to have it when it's actually drawn it, so at the end of the loop. So this will be without the white space. So if I then delete this, this is now, instead of 8 lines of code, I have 3 lines of code, which makes it more efficient. And I run, and it does exactly the same. Same outcome, but a different way of doing it. Okay, there's no right or wrong way of which way is better, but the more efficient way, the one with the less code, is the one where we're trying to look to do. We can even have 2 squares side by side. So I could say turtle.pen up, so we lift the pen up. We could then say turtle.forward, 200 this time, and then turtle.pen down. And we put our brackets, and then we just copy this here. Paste it after, press F5, and it will run it, and it puts 2 side by side. Likewise, we can actually, if we want 5 squares side by side, I don't need to keep putting the pen up, the pen down, and then each shape drawn. I could delete this, and we could just put another for loop. For I in range, let's say I want 5 squares. And this time I could just highlight all of this code here, press the tab button on the keyboard. It then indents all of this. So it will repeat all of this 5 times, but within we've got another loop that it will run 4 times. So here it will then draw 5 squares side by side, like so. So your challenge, your mini challenge is the following. I've got 5 for you. So the first one is very simple, which is what I've just done in front of you, is to have 4 squares in a row. The next one is then you've got to work out how to do this star. And you're going to have to then work out what degrees you're going to have to turn. The next is then have 4 stars in a row. The fourth challenge will be a bit harder. You're going to have to create this pretty little sun or star that you can see here. And then the fifth, you're going to have to create this pattern where it starts with a smaller square and the square keeps growing and growing and growing. So, Norlangus students, I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Please share on the wall, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.